Everything you see here in red is the pelvic floor muscles. They span from the front of the pubic bone here to the tailbone in the back, and from sit bone to sit bone on either side. Hi, I'm Dr. Vita Ahmad, a pelvic floor physical therapist, birth doula, and the owner of Fit to Push. I help women stay strong, confident, and supported during pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and beyond. Today, we're going to dive into Pelvic Floor 101. We're going to break down what the pelvic floor actually is, what does it do, and what could go wrong when it isn't working like it should. So if you're pregnant, you're postpartum, or you're just looking to learn something new, I hope you stick around till the end of this video. Your pelvic floor is a group of muscles that sit at the bottom of your pelvis. Everything you see here in red is the pelvic floor muscles. They span from the front of the pubic bone here to the tailbone in the back, and from sit bone to sit bone on either side. They sit like a sling or a hammock supporting the organs of the pelvis. The pelvic floor does way more than you think, and it has 5 major functions. We think about it like the 5 S's: stability, support, sexual function, sphincteric control, and a sump pump. The pelvic floor supports the organs that sit within our pelvis, like the bladder, the uterus, the cervix, and the rectum, the lowest portion of the intestine. The pelvic floor muscles work together with your core, your back, your hip muscles, and your lower extremity muscles to provide this stability to the pelvis and the spine. During sexual function, the pelvic floor muscles work to provide your ability to have an orgasm. They need to relax and move out of the way to allow for pain-free penetrative intercourse, or for insertion of a tampon, or your ability to have a pain-free OBGYN exam. Your pelvic floor muscles are also responsible for sphincteric control. And what that means is that there are little muscles here that close off the urethra and close off at the rectum to help you stay dry and clean, to prevent the passage, the free passage of urine or fecal matter, so that you control when you allow fecal matter and urine to pass through. In addition, the pelvic floor also works as a sump pump, and what that means is that it helps push blood and fluid, lymph, back out of the pelvis and up towards the heart. So it helps with circulation of our blood, and it helps prevent things like vulvar varicosities. So if you've ever had like a varicose vein in your leg, it's similar to that can happen at the vulva, where you can have enlarged veins that blood pulls. And so the pelvic floor helps pump blood and lymph and fluid out of the pelvis, preventing vulvar varicosities. So the pelvic floor can be kind of a big deal, right? And when it's not working properly, we can have pelvic floor dysfunction. We can experience things like leaking, constipation, pain with intercourse. We can even have pelvic pain, lower back pain, and hip pain. You can feel things like heaviness in the pelvic floor, or sometimes like something's bulging out of the vagina or stuck in the vagina. And this is when you're losing that support from the pelvic floor to help keep those pelvic organs up within the pelvis, and they're kind of falling a little bit lower. And this can commonly happen after a vaginal delivery or with age. Someone can experience pelvic floor dysfunction when the pelvic floor is either too weak, or it can be too tight, or a mix of both. You can also experience pelvic floor dysfunction if there's a failure within the system somewhere else. So if you're having difficulty with balance and the pelvic floor is having to work too hard to provide extra stability to the pelvis and the spine, then we can have pelvic floor dysfunction because the pelvic floor is working too much. It's being used beyond its capacity. If we're having weakness in the core, then the pelvic floor again is going to have to be used beyond its capacity. And so there will be a fault in the system where you can have pain in the pelvis, you can have pain with intercourse, and you can have leaking. If we have a poor ability to manage pressure within our abdominal cavity, this can also lead to things like prolapse and pelvic floor leaking. Pregnancy, birth, and C-sections can significantly affect the pelvic floor. These muscles go through a lot. They carry the weight of your baby and they adjust to shifting organs, to shifting strength, and they're recovering from being overly stretched. Without proper recovery, moms end up struggling for years without resolution of symptoms. They're told, you're a mom now. This is what happens. Welcome to motherhood. But if you experience any of the symptoms listed above, know that there's help. You can seek help from a pelvic floor physical therapist. And what a pelvic floor physical therapist can do to help you is that we look at your whole body. We look at your core, your hips, your spine, your balance, and your overall strength, in addition to assessing pelvic floor muscle tension, strength, and your ability to manage pressure within your system. And we find the root cause of what is adding to your symptoms, whether it's leaking, constipation, or pain with intercourse. Pelvic floor physical therapy can help you. If this video was helpful, please go ahead and like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram. The link to my Instagram will be listed in the description below. See you on the next video.